All right, if you've got some cabinet doors or cabinet drawers that are looking old and beat up and they just need to be refreshed, I'm going to show you the steps you can take to get them back to looking brand new. Alright, so behind me here we have this cabinet door that we have in our kitchen, and it's got a bunch of damage to the paint. This is the trash container drawer, so it gets used a lot, pulled out. The kids have, we've been bumping on it and scraping it.
You tripping, bro. You tripping.
So we're gonna try these sanding pads, and we're gonna try to get this paint off of here so we can repaint it and repair it and see how well it does with this paint right here that's been on these cabinets for a few years. All right, so the first step, of course, was to take the cabinet door off, and then we removed the hardware. And shout out to Gator for being today's video sponsor, guys. Today we're trying out the Gator Reptilion sanding line of products. These discs last 4 times longer thanks to their innovative design. They come in a variety of grits, perfect for everything from rough sanding, paint removal to fine finishing. And they are clog resistant. All right, guys, right off the bat, it's eating through that paint pretty good, and it's not really caking on there. Got one little area right here, but it's not anything crazy for the amount of paint that is coming off. So this has 2 layers of paint and a layer of primer. All right, we started off with an 80 grit here, and so the Gator Reptilion sanding disc, guys, they're pretty cool. They're designed to meet the demands of professionals with the active matrix technology that channels away dust and debris from the sanding surface, resulting in 4 times longer lasting performance. These discs feature Ceramax ceramic grain engineered to cut faster and last longer for a high quality professional finish, guys. And they're easy hook and loop attached. You can pick some of these up for your next project at your local Lowe's, guys. They're super easy to find. They're available in the sandpaper section. And there's also a link down below. Of course, I'm gonna have to bring a detail sander here for these little corners, but the whole face of it is done. Took about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get through the entire thing. So we're just gonna switch over to the 220, and again, super easy. The Velcro just sticks on there. Align your holes, and then we're gonna do a quick 220 pass to smooth out the wood. All right, guys, there you have it. Smooth as a, what do they say? Smooth as a baby butt.
Smooth as a baby's body.
Looks like when I got the cabinets, and I think we did 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of paint on these because they were brand new cabinets, if I remember correctly. There's a video if you want to go watch it. It's on my playlist when we redid our house. But I think total this was 4 coats of material, and it went through it like a champ. All right, so here we're using the detail sanding sheets, same active matrix technology on the Gator Reptilion sanding disc, as well as these detail sheets. And we just have an attachment that attaches to our oscillating multi-tool, and these go right on there. Again, they're hook and loop, so that you just stick them right on there. And this is perfect for those little corners and those little hard to reach areas. All right, and just like the orbital disc, we started with an 80, and then we moved up to, we did a light sand with the 120, and then finished up with a 220. Yeah, so usually the sanding is the hardest part of any cabinet prep. You got to make sure that the surface is good and smooth. If you're removing paint, you have to make sure that you get it off well. I didn't do the backside on these. I did a light scuff sand with the 120 and then the 220 just because this is a trash cabinet door, so it's covered by the back of the trash cans. You don't really ever see it. And then after that, we took a wet rag and kind of wiped it down, got rid of all the sanding dust, and finally we caulked them. We're using some elastomeric caulking here.
What is that? It was already perfect. Every 15 seconds, tell me when.
1 hour later.
All right, after the caulking dried, we went ahead and did the primer. We ended up doing 2 coats of this. We're just using water-based primer here. We ended up doing 2 coats because it soaked up the first one a little bit, but we did just have to let it dry in between coats. All right, and we let this dry overnight and came back the next morning and we sanded it down with the 220 just to give it that fine finish sand in between the primer and the paint coat. And then we picked up this cabinet enamel and we started our first coat. We cut in first and then we rolled the paint after. We're using a smooth finish. This was a foam roller, I believe. Sometimes I like those better for cabinets like this if you're trying to get a smooth finish versus anything with a nap on it. You're gonna get a little bit of texture on it. Yeah, so we ended up doing 2 coats of this as well, just to get a good coverage on everything. And then we let it dry overnight again and came back finally and put the door back on. So that's the final step, is just putting it back and putting the hardware back on. So I did this in between other things going on, so I'm kind of going back and forth on different days putting this back, but you can probably do this in a weekend. And here's the finished result. Great way to bring the cabinets back to life, and thank you to Gator for being the sponsors of this video, and thank you guys for watching. You can pick up your Gator Reptilion sanding equipment down at your local Lowe's.